Hello and welcome back. What we are going to learn in this video is called F strings. And like I said to you in the one-on-one section, the F strings is one of the many ways in which we can do variable substitutions or string interpolation in Python. And by that, what I mean is we want to be able to construct strings or print them out using values that have already been stored in some variables. And so the first technique I'm going to show you, which is in this video, is called the F strings. And the first thing I want you to remember is that the F strings is only available in Python version 3.6 and above. So if your Python is below 3.6, then you will not be able to use the F strings that I'm going to teach you about. But this shouldn't really be a problem because if you installed Python 3, it is most likely that you have a Python version that is either 3.6 or above 3.6. So let's get started. To help you understand that, I'm going to use an example. And so I've created a file called fstrings.py. And in this file, I have two variables. The first one is full name that stores a string, and the value is Edward Pi. And I also have another variable called current age that stores the value 88. And we want to construct a message, or we want to print a message that says, hey, and then we will bring whatever value is in full name. Then we will say you will be your current age plus 1 next year. I think we have seen this example before. I'm using it to teach you how to use the F strings here. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to create a variable that will tell you your next age. So the next age, of course, is going to be your current age plus 1, okay? Because if I am 88 now, then in 1 year time, I am expecting to be 89, okay? Now we want to print out that message. What we can do is we use the print statement. I'm going to show you two ways. This is the first way. So we use the print statement, and then you know that anytime we are doing print, and if we want to print a text or something, we want to print something verbatim or as it is, so we put it in quote. If it were the content of a variable, then we would just put a variable name there without the quote, right? So I want to print hey, and then the value that is stored in full name, and then I will say you will be something in the next year. How are we going to go about this with the F strings? Well, the first thing you do with the F strings is that you start your string. The quote that delimits your string should start with F. So note where the F is. It is C. I'm leaving a space so that you can see it properly. So the F comes before you open and close the quotes, okay? And then now we can put in other delimiters that will help Python to know that it has to go and fetch the value of some variables. So I want to say hey, and then I will bring your full name, all right? The way to do that with F strings is to use the curly braces or the curly brackets. Once you bring the curly bracket, you can put in any Python expression. So by Python expression, I mean expressions for variable names, or even expressions that perform mathematical operations, or expressions that invoke other functions. They are all allowed in the curly brackets here. So I will say full name. So essentially what is happening here is I am telling Python to use the F string provision to construct a message that says hey, and then it should go and read whatever is stored in the variable full name and print it out. Let's run this program and then let's see the output. This is not the final thing, but I just want you to see what will be produced for what we've written so far. So I'm going to run the file called fstrings.py, and you can see that it says hey Edward Pi. So I want you to understand what we have done so far, and so I'm going to take my time to go over it again. We are using a technique called F strings to do string interpolation or variable substitution, which means that we want to construct a string or a text But as part of the construction of the test, we want to use some values that have already been defined in some existing variables. And the way to do that is, first of all, you need to start your string with an F even before you open and close your double quote or single quote, whichever one you choose to use. Now, inside that, you are able to type any test that you want, but then wherever you want to include the value of a variable, or wherever you want to do variable substitution. So now you see where the name is coming from. Variable substitution, in the sense that as part of the string, you are substituting some values that have been stored in some existing variables. Okay, so the way we do the variable substitution is to use the curly brackets. So you open a curly bracket, you close a curly bracket, and then you put the name of the variable in there. And that is what is going to cause Python to go and fetch the content of that variable and use it as part of the string that you are constructing. So to complete this example, we said we want to print, hey, the full name, and then we say you will be, and then we will state your year or your age 1 year ahead. Okay, so I say, hey, Edward, or whatever is stored in full name, you will be, and then I want to print your next age here, so I'll say next age. So this is another variable substitution, next year. So you can see that we are combining creating a string in quotes with the ability to do variable substitution. And this will help us to be able to generate more dynamic strings or tests, okay, as opposed to fixed ones that you just type and it stays there as it is. Now let's run this program and let's see what it's going to produce. So you can see that indeed it prints, hey, Edward Pi, you will be 89 next year. Assuming I change the name to something else, let's use a fictitious name, say Moon Tiger. Okay, so let's say there's somebody called Moon Tiger, and let's say Moon Tiger is 159 years old. So we expect that Moon Tiger is going to be 160 years next year. So let's run this program, and you see that it says, hey, Moon Tiger, you will be 160 next year. So this is the most modern way of doing string interpolation or variable substitution in Python. And even with this, we are using the print statement to print it out. But I want to adapt this example to show you that it doesn't always have to be inside the print statement. You can actually use it to construct your own strings on the fly. So let's say instead of constructing or doing the interpolation inside a print function, I actually wanted to create this as a string, and then I'll print that string. Well, that is also allowed. So what I can do is I can say message is equal to, then I will just remove everything here. I'm going to cut everything here, and then I will set that to the value of message, and then I will print message here. Okay, so this is nothing different from what you have learned so far. What is this? Message is not defined. Didn't I spell it correctly? Okay, there are 3 S's here, so let me remove one. Okay, all right, so this is not different from what we had previously. The only difference is that rather than constructing the string or doing the variable substitution inside the print function, I am doing it as part of a string variable that I'm creating. And remember that even so, what makes it an F string is the fact that it starts with the F, and note where the F is. It comes before the opening and closing quotations before you construct your test, and then you use the curly bracket to do your variable substitution. So if I run this program, you should not expect to see anything different from what we saw previously, because it is not different. Okay, the next thing that I also want to show you is that rather than constructing next age over here just for the purpose of substitution, we can actually get rid of this, and inside the curly brace or the curly bracket, remember I told you that with F strings, it allows you to substitute Python expressions in your test. So it is not just to go and fetch the content of variables, but you can actually put in any valid Python expression. And so far we know expressions like, of course, defining variables, calling functions, and also using the mathematical operators. So over here, we want to say your age next year, and your age next year is your current age plus 1. Well, we can do that. So I can just do this over here, and it is completely valid for f-strings in Python. So let me run this program, and you can see that we will get a similar output to what we got previously. So it says, hey, Moon Tiger, you will be 160 next year. So this is the most preferred way of generating strings and doing variable substitutions as part of the creation of the string. In the next video, I am going to show you another way of doing string substitution, which is also equally preferred, like the same way this one is preferred. And the difference is that f-strings is only available in Python 3.6 and upwards, but what I'm going to show you in the next video is available in other versions of Python that came before the 3.6 version. So let's take a quick pause, and I will see you in the next video.